Hey everybody, and welcome to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake, and I'm so glad you're able to join me. Now today, we're going to be talking about how to get unstuck from where you are right now, so you can make a greater impact, live a more fulfilled life, start, having more joy and delight in your life. Let's talk about how you can actually move forward, even if you don't know where you're going right now. Now, you may have tried to figure this out, and a lot of people try to. It keeps so many good people like you stuck. It's something that just keeps people stuck, and it's not because you don't care, or it's not because you're lazy. It's because you're waiting to feel sure before you start. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you've got this pull of an idea, a change, the next step that could lead you somewhere great, but you can't see the whole path, right? And because of that, you freeze. You wait, you overthink, you do tons of data and research. You tell yourself now's not the right time. When really you're scared it might not work out. If you're a parent who's put your dreams on pause for years, if you're the entrepreneur who's drowning in too many options with no clear signal, or if you're the employee who's working 9 to 5 who knows their current job isn't it, but you have no clue what to do next, then this video, it's for you. It's for people just like you. Because here's what I've learned, and I learned it the hard way. You don't need to see the destination to start. You don't need a 5-year plan to take one honest step, and you don't have to wait for perfect clarity. That's not playing it safe. It's just choosing to be stuck over having growth. And so I want to unpack this with you so that you can move past it. Like I said, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book called The Giver Method. It came out in November. Since coming out, it's been an Amazon bestseller. It's sold thousands of copies, has tons of 5-star reviews. I recommend that you go get it on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description where you can go get it. It's only $10. You can also go straight to Amazon, look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Like I said, go get yourself a copy, because everything we're going to cover today is grounded within here. But the reason why I think you should get this is because if you are a parent who's feeling that stress, overwhelm, frustration, if you're an entrepreneur who started your business and you with that vision of what you wanted to achieve and how you want to make an impact, maybe you feel you're getting caught up in the day-to-day tasks, or if you're, like I was once, working in a larger organization, you're working that 9 to 5, grinding away, and you're just losing yourself in the day-to-day of it all. This book helps you to rediscover those gifts and superpowers you have and create more impact and influence in your life, create value for other people, have deeper, more meaningful relationships. Once again, biggest piece is you're going to actually live a more fulfilled life, make that greater impact. You can't beat things like that. So invest the $10 in yourself. It's the best $10 that you could invest in yourself. Like I said, I'll put a link down in the description, or you could pause the video, go jump on Amazon, get yourself a copy right now, and then we'll keep going through that. Now, what people love about it is two things. Number one, there's tons of action items, exercises, things that are designed specifically for people like you. The reason why they're designed for people like you is the second reason why people love it, is it's grounded in my own story and in my own background. And I'm just like you. I'm a parent. I've got 3 kids. All right. I'm an entrepreneur running a business. I've been in that corporate sphere working 9 to 5, feeling that grind of the day-to-day. I've been there. I've walked the similar paths as you. And so everything that I put into it, all the exercises, action items, the different items that you could go implement, they're meant for people like you with busy, full schedules who can't just blow up their lives as a part of that. Now, what I know, because I've lived it and I've been through that, is on this idea of feeling stuck. There was a stretch in my life when, I was married, I was raising little kids at the time, and feeling like I should have had it all figured out by then. But that's where I just I froze. I kept waiting for the aha moment, that clear sign or perfect plan to come, but it never comes. I promise you, it doesn't come. What finally changed everything for me was when I stopped trying to think my way forward, and I just started moving. Not with certainty, but with curiosity. Not with confidence, but just enough courage to take another step. And that's when things started unfolding, not all at once, but in pieces, through action, through reflection, through showing up even when I didn't know what exactly I was doing yet. Just being my authentic self in every single moment. And so if you're in a foggy place right now, where nothing feels clear, but everything feels tight, I want to walk you through 6 strategies that are going to help you stop waiting and start discovering. Now, these are the same tools I've used myself. They're the same ones that I teach to busy parents and misaligned entrepreneurs or high-performing employees who feel stuck in transition but don't know, they don't want to blow up their lives to find clarity. And let me be clear, this isn't just motivational fluff. This isn't some woo thing. These are real and practical steps that help you move through uncertainty without, needing to abandon your responsibilities or pretend like you've got it all together. Like I said, it's all rooted in the Giver Method. So this idea that your natural gifts and superpowers don't show up through planning, they show up through movement. And when you start showing up with curiosity and intention, even when the path is a little blurry, that's when your impact starts to surface. And so if you want to dive deeper, like I said, you can pause the video, you can go down in the description, go to Amazon, get yourself the book, you can go to thegivermethod.com, learn more about the ways that we help people. Please go follow us on social media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places, and such. And then, of course, like there are a lot of people who watch these videos and they want to move forward. They want to get out of this burned out, frustrated state and live a more fulfilled life. And, they want some one-on-one attention. They want some mentoring. They want someone who's walked the same path as them. So if you're looking for that support, I just opened up a few one-on-one coaching spots. You can check out the link down in the description, learn more about it. Now, if you run a team, a podcast, host, spaces or events where people gather to grow, then I'd love to talk about ways that we could bring this type of message to your audience, and you can find that link down below as well. And if this video is something that hits home to you, drop a comment, let me know what lands. And of course, hit the like button, of course, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on the content that I put out all week long. With that, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's dive into how to stop overthinking. Overthinking and trying to think that that's how you're going to get your way, out of the where you're stuck. Let's start trusting yourself more and move forward, even when you're not totally sure where it's all headed. So the first strategy that I want you to think about is there's the idea of follow the spark. Okay, this is how curiosity, it's quietly pointing you home. Because let's be honest, when you don't know where you're going, the last thing most people tell you is to trust is your curiosity. We've been trained to believe it's unreliable. People are be responsible, make logical decisions. But here's the truth. If you're feeling stuck or burnt out or unsure what's next, curiosity might be the most honest compass that you have. Those moments where something grabs your attention, a topic, a conversation, that random rabbit hole that you can't stop thinking about, that's not a distraction. It's possible. It's data. It's information. Your brain's quietly saying hey, over here, here's something for you. There's tons of data and science that backs this up, okay? When you are genuinely curious about something, your brain goes into higher gear. It actually learns faster. It remembers more. It engages deeper. You become more alive, more lit up, and more you. And it's not a fluke. It's alignment. Your curiosity isn't random. It's recognition. It's your gifts, your values, and your untapped purpose, nudging you forward before you even realize it. And when you don't feel full clarity, when the big picture feels foggy, don't freeze. Don't overthink. Just take small steps forward. What's pulling your interest? That's the next clue. And so let me show you how you turn that into a rhythm that's not just a random moment. So the first idea here that you could do is there's a 2-minute curiosity check-in where every morning ask yourself, what am I naturally curious about today? That's it. No filters, no pressure to be productive. Just pay attention, write it down. Even if it seems silly or unrelated, over time, these breadcrumbs start to leave a trail that we can follow. And then the next thing you can do is just take the small step. Pick one of the curiosities and do something with it. Read about it, try it, watch a video, DM the person who's doing it, whatever. It doesn't have to be this life-changing thing. It just has to be real. And you don't need to know where it's going yet. Just move in a direction that lets the experience guide you along the way. And then the next thing is start noticing the patterns. Keep a running list, a note, a log, a journal, whatever works for you. Track the stuff that keeps showing up. What do you Google when no one's looking? What conversations energize you? What problems do you love solving? After weeks, you'll start to see themes, and those themes, often where your purpose lives. And this works, and it matters so much, because here's the thing. Most people are so busy trying to make the right decision. I gotta be responsible. They never move at all. But when you follow what genuinely lights you up, even if it feels small or impractical, you start building momentum in a more authentic, in the most authentic way possible. But curiosity leads you back to you. Let's just put it that way. Not the world told you to be. It needs you to be who it is that you actually are, not what labels or roles they think that you should be living in, not the version of you that's stuck in the shoulds, the what ifs, but the version of you that's ready for growth and purpose and contribution. There's tons of data out there that actually shows when people follow what truly interests them, they not only are more fulfilled and happy, but they just perform better in whatever it is they're doing in every part of their life. And that's not surprising, because when you're interested, you're invested. When you're invested, you grow. When you grow, you start showing up in ways that matter to you. And so if you feel lost right now, the first step isn't a 5-year plan. You know, it's one moment of wonder. Think of it like this. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to follow the spark, because the spark always knows the way home. Now, the second strategy is I refer to it as like you take the next step, even if you don't know what the next is. Like how you break down these overwhelming paths into a single manageable actions, you know, while your brain demands the whole map before starting. You know, something that keeps way too many good people stuck, waiting for the full plan to move. Like, if you're the type of person who wants to figure it all out before you take action, you're not alone. I've been there. I have all sorts of Google Sheets and like notes and things of all these types of, you know, trying to research my way into like movement. You know, most of us were wired this way. Your brain is trying to protect you from uncertainty. So it says like, hey, let's not start until we know exactly how it ends. But here's the problem. Life doesn't work like that. You know, clarity doesn't show up all at once. It unfolds. Like the view from step 1 is totally different from the view from step 5. And sometimes the only way to get clarity like that you're craving is to start walking. You know, and that's where this idea of like just next step, like what's the next best step I could take? It's simple, but super powerful, because like you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need the next stair. You know, you just need to know where you're stepping next. Not 10 steps, not even 3 steps, just 1, that's it. So let's show how you live that out in real life, especially if everything's cloudy or feels heavy or too big to handle. And so, you know, 1 small step, that's it. Like, let's think of it this way. Step 1 is that. Start with a single step identification. Like, you're just going to like ask yourself, what's 1 small logical step I can take that might give me clarity or momentum? You know, it might be texting a friend, Googling something that you have on your mind, journaling for a few minutes, you know, signing up for a free workshop. Like, don't overthink it. Just look for 1 like manageable move and get things in motion. And then the second thing is like you use this idea of like a flashlight principle. You know, think of it like we're driving at night through the fog, and your headlights don't, you know, show the whole road, but they show enough for you to drive just a little further. You know, once you move forward, you start to see the road. You know, well, the same thing. That's how this applies. Like, you don't need to know what happens next month. You just need to see as far enough to take that next step. You know, that's flashlight range. Like, I can this far, not spotlight, not sunlight range, just far enough. And then write down, like, you know, write it down. Like, if it helps, like, you know, what do you know you can see clearly right now? What decision, action, or area is barely in front of you? And just start there. And then, of course, celebrate the move, not just the outcome. Every time you take a step, pause and breathe and say like, hey, I did something. This matters. Here's how this is applying to like me becoming who I want to be. Too many of us only celebrate when we arrive, but the clarity shows up in motion. Movement builds confidence. Even if the step is smaller, you're stuck asked like, well, what did I learn? What do I see now that I couldn't have seen before? And your brain starts to learn like, oh, I can move even if I don't know everything. And that's a massive win for you. And it works. Trust me, even if you're tired or overthinking or afraid to choose, like, when you're stuck in uncertainty, it's like rarely because of laziness or unmotivation. It's because your brain's trying to do too much at once. It wants to plan 20 steps ahead, you know, and in doing that, it freezes, it locks up, it creates too much anxiety. That's when you shrink down into like, okay, well, I just need to do 1 doable action. I want to calm this chaos around me. You know, you move forward. The research out there shows that people who focus on just the next step are way more likely to follow through with those than those who try to map the whole thing. No surprise, like, simplicity builds momentum. Here's your permission slip today. Stop waiting for the plan. Stop mapping the whole 5-year plan out. Like, just take the next step. That's where your clarity is going to live. Confidence will be built. That's where your life will start to shift. You're going to feel it so much. And then the third thing is there's this idea of like, you know, the try it before you buy it. You know, you test drive a car before you'd buy a car, right? So turning big decisions into low stress experiments. Now, the biggest mindset traps that keeps people stuck, like when they're trying to figure out everything, is like their next move, like is an idea that either you have to go all in on or not. Well, gosh, that sounds very familiar to me. Like, you feel like you just have to be all in. Like, you're curious about something, a new direction, a career pivot, a creative idea, some sort of like passion project, but suddenly it feels heavy because you start thinking like, well, what if I get it wrong? What if it's a waste of time or energy or money? What if it changes my career? What are people going to think? Like, and so, like, you do nothing, right? But here's the good news. Like, there's a third option. You don't have to fully commit or fully walk away. You can test it. You know, try it before you buy it approach. You know, be turning the big, overwhelming decisions into small, low-stress experiments where the goal isn't to get it perfect. It's just to gather data. So here's what I want you to do. Like, the first thing is start with, like, your hypothesis. Let's treat this scientifically. Ask yourself, like, what do you think what do I think I might like or enjoy or feel fulfilled doing, and why? And then your exploration, like we're going to explore that hypothesis where it's like, I might enjoy, and you can fill in the idea, something, I might enjoy this, but because this is, feels like, it peels into you. It feels like you. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right words there. I might find joy in, and you fill in whatever your idea is, okay? Because like there's a reason you feel pulled to do it. There's the right verbiage. Let's say you're considering switching careers or starting something on the side. Like, great, cool. You don't need a whole business plan. You just need a tiny test. You don't need to go and quit your job and go start, applying for everything that's in that new career. Like, no. It might be that you're shadowing someone in the field, or volunteering, or grabbing coffee with 3 people doing that work, or taking a course, to see what clicks. Keep it small, keep it light, and just keep collecting real world info. And then there's the time box the trial method. The deal is we get overwhelmed when something feels like it's forever. So set boundaries. Hey, I'm going to try this for this week, for the next 30 days, for 90 days, whatever feels doable. That's your time box trial. And during that time, you're going to ask yourself, is this giving me energy or is it draining me? What did I not expect to love, but I do? What questions do I have now that I didn't have before? What answers have I collected along the way? This isn't a pass-fail test. It's just a discovery mission. And then, of course, the third thing you do here is run more than one experiment, right? The fun part is you don't have to bet all on one idea. You could run a few small experiments at the same time. Create some sort of a portfolio of these experiments. Maybe you explore podcasting, you test out coaching a few people, you take a class, something that's been tugging you a certain direction. They don't have to be huge. They just have to be real. That's how clarity shows up, in motion, not in theory. You're going to learn a lot about wow, actually I didn't want to go down that road, but I wouldn't have known that had I not started walking down it. And this, it works, even if you feel like there's that risk that's there, or you second guess yourself, because when you treat life decisions like experiments, pressure's going to drop for you. You don't have to be right. You just have to be curious, and that's not failure. Failure isn't happening. It's feedback. It's your learning lessons. Once your brain realizes that you're not making forever decisions, it lets go of the white knuckle grip that, and it lets you play more openly, with more confidence that you're going to build, and not in having the answers, but in just proving to yourself hey, I can try things and I can learn and I can pivot. I don't have to have it perfect from the get-go. All the information out there that you can find, it's going to back this up. People who take the test and learn approach feel way less anxious about the big changes in their life, and way more confident in the direction they eventually choose, because they don't just think it through it. They live their way into the answer. And so if you're staring at a fork in the road, you're trying to figure out, just remember this, you don't have to commit, you just have to explore. And when you give yourself permission to experiment and stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, well, what might I discover? That's where things shift for you. Now, our fourth strategy is this idea of people say, trust the process. And I want to say, trust the fog. How you keep moving when clarity isn't showing up yet. The anxiety, how do we move past that with wisdom as it unfolds? Because something that there's uncomfortable space between I'm ready for something new and I actually know what that is. Feeling ready and knowing what it is, there's this uncomfortable space, and it's foggy and it's frustrating, and it can feel like something's wrong. You might feel like something's wrong with you just because you don't have all the answers. If that's where you are right now, then I want to say this clearly. Once again, not knowing isn't a problem. It's not a failure. This is all just part of the process. Somewhere along the way, we're taught that, capable adults should have some sort of 5-year, 10-year plan. That if you're, in transition or searching or a little unsure, it means you've messed up, or you've got a messy life, or you're confused. It's well, no, that's not true. The fact is, the most meaningful things in your life, they probably didn't start with clarity. They started with a hunch. They started with a feeling, a moment where you said I don't know what this is yet, but it's something I want to follow. And so that's where this idea of trusting the fog. It's about learning how to stay in motion even when the road isn't lit up. So the first thing is this idea of step one is this, look back and remember. Retrospective clarity is what they refer to it as. Like if you think back to a time in your life when you felt unclear, but somehow they worked out. Maybe how you met your partner, or how you ended up doing something you now love. You know, you didn't plan every step. It just unfolded. You figured it out. You don't go on a date with a person for the first time and be like, this is where we're going to be when we're married in 10 years. Like, no, you figured things out. You feel things out. And sometimes that's not the right person. You know, you figure it out by living, not by mapping it out. You know, that's proof. It's evidence. And, you know, you navigated the fog, you know, before. So like if you look at your past, here's how I navigated it. Like, and I can do that again. And then the second thing you can do is like, think of like how goals, not just the what goals. So instead of like, I need to know my exact career path by next month, like maybe try this, like, hey, this month, I'm going to stay curious. I'm going to explore things that pull me one way or another. I'm going to trust clarity will come as I move. Like weird how that, you know, feels like it's enough. You know, this process focused goals, like you're setting goals with intention about how you want to show up through it, not just what you're going to achieve. And weird, like this actually speeds up the process because it calms the panic, and calm people think clearer. And then of course the third one is like, you gotta like appreciate the fog. Like, and this one might feel strange at first, but hear me out. Like, what if you could start seeing uncertainty in your life as space instead of a problem? When everything isn't nailed down, you know, you have options, you've got flexibility, you've got possibility. Like there's so much joy in that sort of a concept. And so you could start a weekly ritual where it's like, hey, what showed up for me this week that I wouldn't have even seen if I tried to figure it out first? You know, and this, like, once again, this isn't a mindset hack. It's just training the brain to stop seeing fog as danger and see it as opportunity, curiosity, discovery. You know, and it even if you feel like things are slow or uncomfortable, like there's science behind all of this. You know, but it's also like the soul of it. Like when you're like obsessed about getting answers fast, your brain locks in on survival mode and it gets rigid and it misses subtle signals that lead to purpose or gifts or opportunity. When you trust that the answers will come through experience, through movement, not just thinking, you shift into a different gear and you start noticing and feeling more aligned. And guess what? People who do this, who stay curious and present even in uncertainty, make better decisions. They build more authentic lives. They live a more fulfilled life. Not because they forced some sort of clarity, but because like they just let it arrive as they've moved. And so here's a reminder, like you don't have to rush through the fog. You don't have to, you know, you just have to keep moving forward, keep walking. Because clarity doesn't, like, it doesn't shout, it whispers, you know, and you're going to need a little stillness to trust it and hear it. And that moves us into the fifth strategy, which is like, you know, you think about it this way, like make it move. Why action builds the path even if you can't see it. You know, clarity in motion, you know, it creates all sorts of opportunities. You know, when you're stuck, the worst thing that you can do is wait for the perfect plan. And yet, that's exactly what most people are doing. They sit, they overthink, they try to plan the next 10 steps. The truth is, like, no one will tell you is like, you don't need the map. You just need the momentum. And so like, that's this idea of like, let's make it move. You know, it's all about using action to create energy or direction or clarity, even when like you know where it's all leading. And so you can begin with like, there's a daily like movement habit that you can build. You know, this idea of like daily forward motion. Or every day you like take one small action that moves you closer to something you're curious about. That's it. Just pick one thing. It's going to be that reading an article or sending the email to somebody, trying this habit for a few minutes, like asking some people questions. Like you're not trying to overhaul your life overnight. You're just trying to get out of neutral, because the truth is like tiny consistent movement beats big inconsistent effort every single time. And then let it build naturally. You don't need to like you don't need to dive head first into something to prove you're serious. Like start small and see how it feels. If something you tried, like, you know, this week, if it sparked some energy, follow it. If it drained you, like, take note, maybe pivot. You know, what you're doing here is this, like, there's progressive exploration. You know, you're allowing your interest and your energy to guide you down, like, you know, where to go deeper and where not to. There's no pressure. There's no overcommitment. There's no life, like, it's real life data. Just one step at a time, and then track. And once again, the biggest piece I think people miss is they don't celebrate the wins. You need to track and celebrate them. You know, people lose steam. They don't see progress, like, because like they don't stop and notice it. So just take 2 minutes once a week and jot down like the forward steps you took. And it doesn't have to be fancy or flashy. Just be real. Like, what did you try? What did you learn? What lit you up? Like, and most importantly, remind yourself, like, hey, I'm moving. I'm not stuck. You know, that belief alone can carry you further than any to-do list ever could. You know, movement unlocks the possibility, even in the uncertainty. There's something powerful that happens when you act before you're fully ready. You know, psychologists out there, there's like this behavioral activation. You know, it's the fancy way of saying like movement changes how you feel. When you move, your mindset shifts, you know, your energy lifts, your outlook expands, and suddenly doors open that you couldn't have seen before. You know, the data and all the research out there, studies show that people who take consistent action during unclear seasons are more likely to find new opportunities or feel confident about their direction, tap into new strengths that they didn't know they had, because like, it's not because they had it all figured out. It's because they made it move. They just moved into it. And so if you've been sitting still, like waiting for clarity to show up, like remember, clarity isn't going to come before the action. It becomes because of it. So take one step. Let's create momentum down this path. And then the sixth strategy, like let it teach you. You know, by learning and not winning is the real goal. You know, outcome fixation is going to kill your exploration, your discovery. And this is one of the most, like, truthfully, it's one of the most exhausting lies we've ever been sold, that every step like we take has to work. It's got to be right. Every action has to deliver some sort of result, or it's a waste. You know, and if you're anything like me, or honestly like most of the people that I've worked with, the pressure, like that pressure behind that has probably held you back more times than you can count. You know, you ask like, will this lead to a job? Or will I make money? Will I finally solve my direction problem? Like, but here's what no one tells you. Not everything has to work. Not everything's supposed to work. Some things are just meant to teach you. You know, and that's a shift. It's a game changer for people. Like this strategy, like let it teach you, is about measuring progress by what you learn, not just by what you achieve. And so this first step is like create 2 goals, not just one. You know, before starting anything, like a new idea, a conversation, a little experiment, ask yourself 2 things, like, what do I hope happens here? And what do I want to learn no matter what happens? Like, what's the outcome I want? Yeah, what am I trying to achieve? And, but like at the same time, like, what do I want to learn? How do I want to show up? Like the second question there is everything, because now, even if it doesn't work, you're still walking away with something valuable, you know? And that's not failure, that's progress. And then step 2, you could do weekly like learning check-ins where you set aside time, a few minutes each week, and ask yourself like, what did I learn about myself today? You know, what caught me off guard? What feels more true than it did a few days ago? You know, this is like, you're in a learning harvest right now. And so it helps you notice the stuff that you normally overlook. The quiet discoveries that usually end up just gliding past you, you know, as a part of a bigger decision later. Like you start to notice those and use them. And then the third thing here is like refine failure as feedback. You know, when something doesn't go the way we hoped, like it feels like wasted energy. You know, like we're beating ourselves up over it, instead of asking like, you know, what did this teach me about my interest, my energy, my time? Like ask yourself that. Like, what is it? What am I learning about my interest, my energy, my timing? You know, what does this failure actually free me from? You know, what can I do differently because of this? Like, once again, you're not losing anything, you're learning. You're building pattern recognition, you're building wisdom, you're building trust in yourself. You know, when learning is the goal, there's no such thing as wasted time. There's no such thing as having things off track. Every step, even wrong ones, gives you more information, more clarity, more confidence, and more alignment. You know, and here's where, like, what studies show, people who focus on learning instead of performing are way more likely to stay in the game. You know, they try again, they discover new opportunities that they would have maybe missed otherwise. When you're no longer obsessed with being right, like on the first try, you actually free yourself up to grow. You stop treating uncertainty like it's a threat. You start treating it like it's a classroom. Oh my gosh, like if you're feeling stuck because something didn't go as planned, like, or because you're afraid it might not work, like, let this be a permission slip for you. Like, you don't have to win every time. You don't have to you just let it teach you. Because every move you make, even messy ones, are like shaping the version of you that's going to know exactly what to do next. So let me leave this with you as we kind of wrap the whole thing up. Like, you don't have to see the whole picture before you move. You don't need the full plan to take the first step. You know, you don't need absolute clarity to start building things. You just need courage to move even a little bit, even when things are foggy. The strategies we talked about, like, aren't about that, you know, they're not about hacking uncertainty or controlling your way out, you know, into confidence. Like, it's just about changing your relationship with the unknown, tuning into what's paralyzing you and using it as something to guide you. If honestly pressure you feel that you like have to have it all figured out, that's not helping you, it's not protecting you, it's slowing you down. You know, that discomfort you feel, it doesn't mean that you're like behind or stuck or broken. Like, it means you're growing. It means you're about to like bump into something meaningful. And if you're willing to keep moving forward, like, it's going to change things for you. What I learned in my own journey and walking alongside tons of other people like you, the most important paths don't show up in spotlights and uncertainty. They show up through the movement, the exploration, through action that doesn't make perfect sense yet, but feels honest and alive. And the best part is, like, you don't have to blow your life up to do this. You don't have to quit your job or run away from responsibilities. You can honor what's on your plate while still like honoring what's stirring in your heart. You know, you could be grounded and still go on an adventure. So if you're in a season right now that feels uncertain, maybe even frustrating, restless, you know, overwhelming, burnt out, whatever, like, I want you to hear, like, that's not failure. You know, there's a sign. That's not a sign that there's something wrong. It's a sign that there's something new trying to grow. You know, so don't wait till you're ready. Don't wait until it makes sense. Start now with just curiosity, one step, like with a little bit of trust in yourself, because clarity you're craving, it's not going to show up before the journey. It shows up during it. Now, if this video resonated with you, if you want to dive deeper into like this, then I would love for you to go grab a copy of The Giver Method on Amazon. And it's going to walk you through how to unlock your natural gifts and use them to create real impact even when things feel unclear. And if you're craving that personal support, one-on-one coaching, like, you know, you're in a season where having someone in your corner is what you need to keep you moving forward, then check out the one-on-one coaching page down in the description. At the same time, if you lead a team, a podcast, host an event, you gather people for growth and purpose, and this message could serve them, like, then check out the link below where we could talk about bringing this to your space in very real and practical ways. If this video helped you, let me know. Drop a comment. Tell me what landed. It means the world to me to know what's hitting for you. And of course, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you do not miss out on any future content. Now, just remember this. The path doesn't show up before you start. It shows up because you did. You know? And I can't wait to see what unfolds when you stop waiting for the perfect map and you start trusting yourself to just walk forward anyway. And so thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm proud of you being here. I'm proud that you're taking at least this step forward in moving yourself forward. And so I will see you in our next video. Have a great rest of your day.